Tomorrow on the 5th of April, the 2021 to 22 tax year ends. And with that, all of our ISA allowances will reset for 2022 to 23 on Wednesday, the 6th of April. In this video, I'll be discussing everything that you need to know about these tax-free saving and investing options. Here is the ultimate guide to ISAs.
I work hard each and every day. I get lost in the words I say. I don't push pause, no, I push play. I won't stop till I make a change.
Hey everyone, it's Lewis back again with another video, and today, here it is. Today is the day, the video version of the ultimate guide you'll ever need to ISAs. Talking myself up a little bit here, too much, aren't I? Let's be honest with you.
Who the hell is this guy?
If you prefer reading about this sort of stuff, you can find this exact same guide on my website, which is everyqd.co.uk, link down below in the description to this video. Now, before I get into the video, I want to thank you all for your interaction with the channel so far. I've been blown away by how many people have watched and liked the videos and subscribed to the channel so far. It's just been incredible. I've only ever made 3 videos before this one, with one of those just being a channel trailer. And already I've amassed over 5 hours of watch time, 65 total views, and 13 subscribers at the time of recording, which is just incredible. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you. Thank you. Now let's get into the video. Having an ISA should be a staple in most people's portfolios when it comes to both saving and investing. They provide great protection from the one thing that we seem to keep paying more and more of each and every waking hour. Taxes. The richer we get, the better we make ourselves financially. We seem to have to pay more for the pleasure of doing so. And I understand that. The taxes we pay are supposed to go towards improving public services we use, such as the NHS, education, and roads. But when all we hear about are news stories about how our politicians find creative ways to pay themselves even more than they already make and write off certain expenses using our tax payments, I can't help but try to ensure that I pay as little as possible, at least for my future years. Plus, where's the improvement in these services? The pandemic brought the NHS to its knees thanks to minimal investment, and there are bigger potholes on our roads than there are craters on the moon. ISAs ensure that you can protect as much money as possible from the taxman. If you're saving up for a deposit on your first home, investing for retirement, or putting some money away for your child's or children's futures, consider opening an ISA as your first option. This is because the money that is in an ISA is ring-fenced from any capital gains tax. For example, if you invested into a general investment account or a GIA, your stock market, this is for stock market investing, any money from that investment and the dividends earned above each person's personal allowance of £12,300 would be subject to a capital gains tax. This is because you would have gained more money, depending on what you invested in, from the investment that you put in, and of course the government want a cut of that. Any money gained from an investment or save into an ISA, however, isn't subject to any tax at all. It's completely your money and yours only. You can put up to £20,000 into a stocks and shares ISA every year, have an amazing 100% return on that money in 10 to 12 years, and would be able to withdraw that money and keep it all for yourself. That's pretty amazing, right? All of a sudden, that deposit for your first home or the retirement on your horizon looks a little better and more doable. Now, this is the most important thing to know about ISAs. Each and every single adult, 18 plus, in the UK has a limit of £20,000 that they can put into an ISA each tax year, which runs from the 6th of April to the 5th of April. For example, the latest tax year began on the 6th of April 2021 and ends tomorrow on the 5th of April 2022. That means that you can put up to 20k to spread across each type of ISA between these dates. So let's say that you have 20k saved and you open a lifetime ISA and a stocks and shares ISA. With that money, you can max out the lifetime ISA limit of £4,000 per year and then put the remaining £16,000 into your stocks and shares ISA. Just make sure that you don't open 2 of the same type of ISA in the same tax year, or put money into 2 of the same type of ISA in the same tax year. If you do, don't be surprised to get a call from the HMRC tax office to say that you owe them, as you can only open up 1 type of each ISA each tax year and can only put money into 1 each type of ISA each tax year. I cannot tell you how many times it took me to say that. Now, there's no limit to how many ISAs you can have open at one time, however. You could have 5 years of previous investing experience and have opened stocks and shares ISAs with 5 individual providers over those years. But I've learned that it's best to just keep it simple. I've got 2 stocks and shares ISAs with 2 providers at the moment, but I plan on leaving one behind. And I have 1 lifetime ISA with another provider. It is possible to have them with the same provider as well if you so choose, or if that provider offers different options. Every April, your ISA allowance resets, so I will simply be paying into one of my SNS ISAs and LISAs each year for the foreseeable future. Probably the rest of my life with the stocks and shares one. There are also age limits on ISAs. These are 0 to 17 years old for junior ISAs. However, you can have an adult cash ISA from the age of 16 and 18 plus for stocks and shares, lifetime and innovative investment ISAs. Now, for junior ISAs, you must open one for your children if they are under the age of 15. The only person or people who can open up a junior ISA for a child is the adult or adults who have direct parental responsibility for that child. If they're between 16 and 17 years old, they can open one themselves in cash. There's also an age quirk to lifetime ISAs that I'll explain later, so make sure that you keep watching for that. And if you're enjoying what you're seeing so far, be sure to like this video for the algorithm and subscribe for more if you haven't already. For those who are looking to invest their money rather than lose all of their savings over time to inflation, this is probably where those people should be looking. Just make sure that you've set your financial foundation before doing this. Build an emergency fund and get debt-free before putting your money away for several years. Of course, my financial foundation video series, which you can find the link to, I think right here, should be able to at least, will help you out with all that good stuff. As great as these ISAs are, I actually think they're the absolute best thing that you can use to invest. Do make sure that you look out for fees from providers. That is because, on the surface, a 1% management fee might sound small, but that really adds up the more your investment pot does. Say you start out with £1,000. Anyone can swallow a £10 fee, right? But when that 1k grows to 10k, the 1% fee turns into £100. A 1% fee for 100k invested is £1,000, and then the big one for £1 million is £10,000. That's a hefty yearly fee. So the smaller the fee, obviously, the better. There are also different types of fees to consider. Some platforms could charge the following. A platform charge, the aforementioned one, it'll either be a flat fee each year or, more likely, a percentage of the value of your funds, which is the one thing that you don't want growing with your investments over time. You've also got an annual management charge. So if the investment fund that you put money into is actively managed by a human being trying to beat the market, they will charge you a percentage of your investment as well. This can be as low as 0.1% or as high as 1% typically. It's worth noting that only 25% of actively managed funds have managed to actually beat the market over 10 years, with the rest either simply matching it or worse, losing to it. So I personally would never consider investing in an actively managed fund thanks to this awful track record. And you also have trading fees. So platforms like Trading212 will have a trading fee of sorts, which can typically range from £0 to £25. If you're an active trader, it may be best to go elsewhere, although I'm not sure why anyone would be an active trader, as it's incredibly difficult to beat the market, and typically about 80% of day traders lose money. Not only that, but the traders typically lose 100% of their money within 12 months. That is all of your money gone in 1 year, just because you think that you can beat the market by investing into some crappy EV or crypto startup. There is no get-rich-quick scheme here, folks. Don't do it. Boring and slow is the way to go. And lastly, there is a transfer out fee. So it's possible to transfer ISAs from one provider to another. For instance, if you have spotted a better deal elsewhere, such as lower investment fees or better options available than the current platform that you're on. But some providers might charge a fee for this transfer, so make sure to look out for this before pulling the trigger. So there is quite a minefield of fees to dodge then. However, this can be easily avoided by keeping it simple and sticking with a provider who charges very little to have an ISA open with them. There are plenty of providers in the UK, however you'll probably come across the following more often than not, as they're some of the biggest stocks and shares ISA providers in the country. And those are Hargreaves Lansdown, AJ Bell, Vanguard, Interactive Investor and Nutmeg, which is an investment wing of one of the biggest banks in the world. JP Morgan. As I always say, it pays to do your own research on these things and make sure that you're investing with someone who will do right by you for your circumstances. Let's say that you want to start investing tax-free into one of these gold mines and you have £20,000 saved up to do so as a lump sum. And now let's see how much you'd have even if you didn't put any more money away into that same ISA. I will also have an example of how much you would have if you invested the full 20k each year for 5 to 10 years, just for even more motivation. All of these examples will assume the average annual return of the stock market's benchmark, which is the S&P 500, and that annual average return is 10.5% since its inception in the 1950s. So 20k invested as a lump sum and left alone for 5 years would return £33,732. After 10 years, you'd have £56,892. Now for the one if you manage to invest 20k each year for 5 or 10 years with those same investments. Here we go. 20k invested each year for 5 years would mean that you'd have invested a total of 100k, and of course 10 years you'd have invested 200k. The 5 years would return you £158,338. The 10 years would return you £391,660. And also bear in mind that this is just using 5 to 10 year examples, which are really minimal timelines when it comes to investing. If we assume that employment lasts 45 years for retiring at age 65, a 20k per year investment with a 10.5% annual return would be £22 million. Even sitting on a single 20k lump sum investment for that long would give you £2.2 million. Just for putting 20k down at 18. If you have 20k at 18, give me a call. Bear in mind, these are only examples using averages. Over the last 5 years, the S&P 500 has returned the following percentages. So that is an average of 17.04%. Yes, I also calculated this one, of course. So a 20k lump sum invested for 5 years with that average is a total of £46,606, and 20k invested per year for 5 years with that average is £190,925. Look, compound interest is a beast. Invest for the long term, don't save. In the interest of full disclosure, I have a couple of stocks and shares ISA open, but I'm currently not paying into any one of them. The reason is I've decided that the one I was paying into this year with Plum isn't right for me long term. This is because Plum offer Vanguard index funds, which I actually love. However, they make it difficult and time consuming to buy into. This is because index funds are only open for new purchases every weekday morning when the stock market opens. And as Plum is essentially a middleman between me and Vanguard in this instance, this makes an investment purchase even more time consuming. It is very possible that you can lose out on a really good day in the stock market because your purchase didn't go through until days after you actually gave your money to Plum in this instance. I still have an account with Plum. I do absolutely love them. I'm actually an investor in Plum myself as well, but I pay into a SIP, which is a personal pension plan, with them each and every week. So I quid cost average into the stock market every week for my retirement. But because I've realized that their ISA is no longer for me, however, I am now not able to pay into another ISA of the same type until the next tax year, which of course is only on Wednesday. I opened another S&S ISA with Trading 212 about 2 years ago, however. Now this will be the one that I'll continue to pay in from Wednesday for the foreseeable future. This is because Trading 212 offer way more investment options than Plum currently do, although Plum do intend to bring stock market investing into their platform very soon. I say stock market, I mean individual stock investing, but that is currently in beta mode. However, they've not yet made it clear if we'll be able to invest into their ISA for this type of investing. Neither have they mentioned if they'll offer any ETFs on their platform. So importantly to me, as you may have seen on Instagram, which is where I post all of my investments, I know that Trading 212 offer the S&P 500 ETF. Stock ticker, VUSA. No, not the FUSA, VUSA.
WUSA.
No, not... Never mind. Let's just call it VUSA. This means I can invest into my favourite market, the US market, at any time the UK stock market is open, which is weekdays 8 AM till 4:30 PM. This provides so much more flexibility to my investments, which I value very highly. I plan on owning a basket of ETFs ranging from the S&P 500 to clean energy. I'll be posting a video very soon breaking down exactly how my stocks and shares ISA will look, so stay tuned for that one. Make sure that you're subscribed and hit the notification bell so that you don't miss out on that upload. Simply put, the reason why I invest is for my future. I'm looking to become financially independent and give this thing a really good go. Investing, in my opinion, is the only thing that is going to get me to where I want to be for the rest of my life. Starting as early as possible will ensure that you'll retire as comfortably as possible. It's great to live in the now, especially when you're younger, but always make sure that you cast your eye to the future. The more you put away now, the better off you'll be. If you're 18 years old and in full-time employment, you've only got to put £200 a month away, and at age 65, that can turn into millions. I will buy into and hold VUSA for the rest of my life whilst using that money in retirement whenever I get there. Anything that outgrows me when I pass away will be passed down to future generations of my family. It's the greatest gift that I could give anyone. I know that it's not all about me, and I want to know that my family will be okay after I'm gone. Ever since its inception in April 2017, the lifetime Ever since its inception in April 2017, the lifetime ISA, known as a LISA, really has been a game changer for younger people. Cheers, Teresa.
Wow, you can really dance.
Housing prices keep rising to levels that are out of control, and with each year it seems to be more and more of an unrealistic goal to want to buy a home. This is where the LISA or the LISA, or whatever you want to call it, I don't care, comes into its own. It is the one ISA that pays a bonus to people who pay into one and was specifically created for two certain elements, with one being more prominent if you're young like me. You know, I'm only 32. But those two elements are buying a first home or retirement. Key is first home, okay? Considering that there are plenty of other pension plans out there, a LISA is considered the best option for first-time home buyers, and it's the reason why I have one. Now, firstly, this one is a little different than other ISAs. Not just because of the bonus paid out, no other currently active ISA does this, but also the limit. Each tax year, you can pay a maximum of £4,000 into a LISA. That was weird. That was so weird. That was the strangest sound that I have ever made in my entire life. That was like a burp / hiccup. It was a hiccup. Oh dear.
Come on, man, pull it together.
Okay, I'm good. That felt weird. Firstly, this one is a little different than other ISAs. Not just because of the bonus paid out, no other currently active ISA does this, but also the limit. Each tax year, you can pay a maximum of £4,000 into a LISA. The bonus is paid to you by the government, and this is 25% of your investment, which is absolutely amazing. The full 4K paid in means your bonus would be £1,000 per year for free, just for putting money into it. This would effectively make your investment £5,000 every year. And I'm very happy to say that this year I've managed to max out my LISA, and I intend to do so every single year for the next 5 to 10 years to eventually become a homeowner. Come on, housing market crash. Come on. Daddy needs an island in the kitchen. The other limiting factor is age. You can only open one from 18 to 39 years old. If you're in your 40s or older, you've unfortunately missed the boat. If you have one open and hit 40, it doesn't end there. You can pay into one until you're 50, but won't be able to open a new one unless you want to transfer your existing LISA to another provider. You can still do that whilst it's open and active. A LISA can be opened in two forms, via a cash ISA or a stocks and shares ISA. If it were me, and it obviously is, I'd stick to a cash ISA if I was planning to use my LISA to buy my first home, which I am. I'd only open a stocks and shares ISA or stocks and shares LISA if I was using it for retirement. This is because of both risk and the amazing 25% bonus from the government. Cash investments usually lose money thanks to inflation. However, a guaranteed 25% return on a cash investment each year is unheard of anywhere else and will easily outpace inflation, even if it's at its highest in 30 years. You get to put away money for your first home relatively risk-free with a pretty massive return. This is why LISAs make it much more easier for us youngsters to become homeowners. If using it for retirement though, I'd be going with the S&S LISA all the way. Sounds like some sort of like army force. Having an investment for retirement with both compound interest and a 25% bonus paid to you each year is like having a pet bull with you everywhere you'd go. You'd be unstoppable. If you maxed out the 4K per year from 18 to 50, there would actually be more chance of you retiring a millionaire than not, just from having this alone. But this is a big one though. Make sure that you withdraw the money for buying for your first home or retirement only. If you take the money out of your LISA for any other reason, you'll be charged a horrible 20% penalty. This effectively takes away the entire bonus paid out. If using it to buy your first home, you'll be taken through the withdrawal process during the entire process of buying your home. So don't worry, your real estate agent or your lawyer, whoever, will talk you through this and ensure that you don't pay a penalty for withdrawal. If using it for retirement, ensure that the money is in there until you are 60 or over. This is when you'll be allowed to withdraw from this fund that you've built up without paying the price for it. Now, I've already given the game away earlier in this video, but I am using my LISA that I've opened with Moneybox to buy my first home. I opened mine last year, so this is the first year having one. I only wish that I opened one sooner. But my LISA is in cash, and Moneybox pay a variable interest rate of 0.6% AER for the first year. I'm not too bothered about this interest rate on this LISA, however, thanks to the 25% bonus. I believe that this is what will truly get me to buying my first home. And the Moneybox app is truly intuitive when it comes to the bonus as well. It has a tracker which not only tells you how much of a bonus you have left to claim, it also tells you how long you have left to claim it. I couldn't recommend Moneybox anymore, to be honest. This content obviously isn't sponsored, but look, if anyone at HQ is watching, do feel free to contact me via my website or the About section of this channel. I'd love to have a chat. I have 13 subscribers that you can promote to. They make it so much easier to understand saving and investing and will get you to your goals. There are other providers out there, but I only know what I know from my experience, right? They also have new tools, such as a pension calculator, which is another game-changing tool. You can put in a yearly amount that you think that you'd need to live off in retirement, and Moneybox will tell you how much you would need to have invested in order to do so. They'll even recommend how much you would need to invest weekly to ensure that you reach your retirement goal. Not only that, but they have a ton of guides for buying a first home, mortgages, investing, retiring, all of that good stuff. I have to say that if it wasn't for this app, I'd still probably be thinking that those type of goals would be unreachable. It's really helped get me to where I am with money today, and I hope that they do the same for you if you consider going with them. So assuming the Moneybox return of 0.6% stays as it is for 5 to 10 years, with the 25% bonus added on top, if you were to max out the 4K allowance each year, you'd be able to buy a house in no time. Remember that the 25% bonus effectively makes your investment 5K per year. Over 5 years, the return would be £30,454, and over 10 years, £56,684. You can become a first-time buyer with a LISA. If you were using a LISA for retirement, it'd look a little something like this. Now, this example assumes that you are able to max out your contribution, £4,000 a year, from ages 18 to 50, and the stocks and shares LISA that you're investing in is an S&P 500 one and provides the average annual return of 10.5%. If so, you would have £1,383,719. You would be a millionaire just from your LISA investment alone. This number doesn't even take into consideration the general age of retirement, which is 65 years old. If we factor in that you maxed out your contributions until age 50, giving you that balance of 1.3 million and the average annual return of the stock market of 10.5%, you would have £638,752 at age 65. And that is without you making a single contribution for 15 years. This is compound interest doing its thing. I'm sorry, Cash ISAs, I really am, but
you're just plain boring.
I don't really understand why you exist as a standalone product, not within a LISA. I will stand on this mountain until the day I die. Cash savers are losers.
What did you say?
And that's not me calling you personally a loser. I'm not here to say that you haven't done an amazing job if you have thousands of pounds in a savings account. You clearly have. But you're losing all of your purchasing power to inflation every year. especially now.
That makes sense.
If that money you have saved isn't for an emergency fund or a short-term want, such as an upcoming holiday or buying something new for your home, then I cannot understand why it would be in there. But that's just me. I do, however, find it funny when people say, but it's less riskier than investing. It just isn't. It's more riskier. A cash investment gains all of 0.5% interest every year, if you're lucky. Inflation this year is up 7+%, the worst in 30 years. So your cash savings are worth about 6.5% less than they were the year before. In the meantime, the stock market is up 10.5% on average every year. Actually, the S&P 500 ended 2021 up by 26.89%. I'm going to just rest my case. I'm going to get off of my soapbox of investing versus saving. I'll shut up about it and I'll talk about cash ISAs now. Now, there actually are some good use cases for having a cash ISA. This is especially true if you have an easy access ISA open, because you'd be able to use this type of ISA for your emergency fund, for example, making any withdrawals you have to make tax-free. And before lifetime ISAs came around, there was the Help to Buy ISA, which used cash ISAs as the investment. Some of these are still open and active, so again, they would help people buy their first home. Help to Buys are no longer available to new applicants because of ISAs, and they have £1,000 less available to pay into, the max being £3,000 per year, but you still get the same 25% government bonus. Other than that, I truly can't think of why you would want to lock away some savings in cash for a year or more. Now, there are other types of cash ISAs around, which are notice cash ISAs and fixed rate cash ISAs. Notice rates require you to give a certain number of days notice to make any withdrawal, and fixed rates offer higher rates than normal, but are still only about 1 to 2%. In fact, the highest rate that I could find was 1.76% for a 5-year fixed rate with UBL. Remember the last 5 years of returns that the S&P 500 has provided? I said I'd shut up about it. If we were to lock away our money into cash for 5 years at UBL's best case scenario rate of 1.76%, it wouldn't look anywhere near as good as the previous stocks and shares ISA and LISA examples mentioned. Let's say that we have 20k as a lump sum. In 5 years, we would have £21,838. That's less than 2k made in 5 years. And after 10 years, that same lump sum would be £23,845. You've made £3,845 in 10 years. Congratulations.
Investment stuff.
If we were to invest 20k per year for 5 years at the same cash interest rate, we'd have £125,450. Over 10 years, that would be £240,593. Assuming employment for 45 years and retiring at age 65, your cash savings retirement pot would be £1,404,159. Now, don't get me wrong, that is not a bad number at all. But remember inflation. Our purchasing power goes down every year in cash. £1 million in 45 years will get you much less than what it will now. Plus, compare this number to the one I provided in the lifetime ISA investment example, which is 6 times greater, and you would have actually invested much less money. That kind of makes you feel a bit ill, right? That would sting me for a while. If you have children, you can take care of their future from day one thanks to junior ISAs or JISAs. Sounds like some sort of cool samurai guy. JISA. Anyway, you can either invest this or save this in cash. You know how I feel about that. To put your kids in a great position as much as possible when they move out. There's a real chance that if you started one from the day that they were born until they were 18 years old and maxed out your contribution for them each year, they could be homeowners at 18. How amazing would that be? To see your child buy their own home and you wouldn't even be that old, really. The allowance per year for a JISA is £9,000, but there is a caveat to this. It's actually separate from the adult ISA allowance. So if you have the capital, you can still save the maximum 20k for yourself each year and a separate 9k for your child. You can also have the JISA in either all cash or investments, or split between the two in any type of mix if you want to spread your risk a little. For instance, you could save a little bit in cash for their emergency fund for when they become an adult, and then invest the rest of it for their home and things like that. Frankly, they are awesome tools for your kids' futures. Now, your child or your children cannot touch the money until they're 18, At that point, as they're now an adult, it's their money and not yours. But that was the whole point, so I'm sure that you kind of expected that anyway. Now, I would say that the best use case for JICEs is to save for your kids' university fund, their first home, their first car, their first anything really. However, as much as you can sit down with them at 18 and have the talk with them about the homes and the uni fees, not the birds and the bees, I should be a rapper. They could easily take all of that money and blow it on a Ferrari. You literally cannot stop them doing so. It's their decision, and we've all made bad decisions with our money. Some might even say that you need to do that in order to truly understand what it can do for you. But let's just hope that your child is as level-headed as you are. Once your child turns 16, things get a little strange again. So I genuinely tend to love ISAs even more for their little quirks. This is because from 16, you can open up a cash ISA, which opens the door for them putting away more money than children or adults are allowed to for 2 years, totaling 29k. The 20k adult allowance for them and the 9k child allowance for them. Once they're 18, the child allowance disappears, of course, and they only have the adult allowance going forward. From the previous examples, we pretty much now know that if you were to save 9k a year for your child from the age of 0 to 18 and invest it, that's going to be a lot of money for them, which is great. We're going to assume the same returns from the examples I've used for the other ISAs. With a 10.5% annual return for over 18 years, over 18 years, a lump sum of £9,000 would turn into £59,086. That is the bare minimum if you max out just 1 year of the allowance. Now, if you were to max out your contribution each year for 18 years, here's how it would look for your kids. With the 10.5% return, £9,000 invested per year for 18 years turns into £513,578. With this kind of a start, you could see your kids become millionaires in their 20s or 30s.
That's why rich kids turn out so well. A
cash JISA provides much more safety, but less return. The best cash JISA that I could find was from the Family Building Society and provided a return of 2.4% variable, but that was only if you had more than £3,000 to put away. It went down to 2.15% variable if putting away between £1,000 and £2,999.99, and down even further to 1.65% for amounts between £1 and £999.99. All of the nines. Using the best case scenario for the 2.4% variable return, a 9k lump sum saved for 18 years would turn into £13,857. Maxing out the 9k each year at the same return would give your child or your children £214,017. Not bad at all, but you can again see the differences investing can make. It can literally more than double your money. Innovative finance ISAs, or if ISAs, I hate that already, they're a strange commodity and much different to any other type of investment mentioned in this post. When you invest in one of these, your money is lent out to borrowers or businesses, which is often known as peer-to-peer lending. You are effectively a bank or a loan provider. Because of this, you'll receive interest for lending your money. This kind of works a little bit like bonds do, where with bonds, you're giving out your money to corporations or to governments and they're paying you back an interest rate. But this is a little bit different to this, so watch on for a little bit more. So this is a proportion of the interest rate that is charged to whoever is borrowing your money. The ISA provider will also take a cut, so keep that in mind. You won't receive the full rate back. Of course, being in the ISA wrapper, your interest isn't taxed. However, there are way more risks than rewards, in my opinion, to this type of investing. Let's have a look at those. Much like the big banks or loan providers of this world, you will take on the risk that the person or business who took out the loan may not be able to pay it back. But unlike the big banks or loan providers, this could seriously affect you. You don't have billions of pounds to fall back on. This risk is somewhat mitigated by spreading your cash across multiple loans or with provider-backed safeguard funds. But even if the risk is spread, that might just be more people who can't pay you back effectively. It can take some time to actually withdraw your money from an ISA, as you'll need to wait until other investors are available to buy you out of your loan. At times this can be quick, especially during good economic periods, of which we are most certainly not in at the moment. During the bad times, this is the complete opposite. The pandemic has especially shown us just how bad things can get economically for borrowers and lenders alike. Sometimes the ISA provider may have a safeguard fund that will help cover for any losses, but no provider has to do this. It is completely their choice to do so. None of your money is truly protected as you're loaning it out to borrowers. Even providers with a safeguard fund may not be enough, because during economic uncertainty, it's unlikely that the fund will be big enough to cover everyone who has cash tied up in it. This is because, as said before, borrowers more than likely cannot pay loans back during these times. With this one, it's really worth speaking to an expert about. I have zero experience in these ISAs and I had to do extensive research to understand what they were. As soon as I started reading, I saw way more many red flags than I'd like to with any investment option. I also really can't provide the previous return on investment examples I've been able to with the other ISAs with this one. It's really, really strange. To be honest, if someone was to put a gun to my head and give me the option of investing every quid that I had into an ISA or cryptocurrencies, I'd choose crypto every day. And that's saying something considering how both risky options can be.
Bitcoin.
Now, there are certain rules and things to keep a note of when it comes to withdrawing from ISAs, as the yearly allowance limits what we can do. Generally speaking, you cannot replace the money that you take out of your ISA in the same tax year. So let's say that you have invested the full 20k and this is spread across a cash ISA or a cash LISA and a stocks and shares ISA. Now as we know, 4k of that is locked away in the cash LISA until you're ready to buy your first home or retire. The remaining 16k is more flexible and can be taken out if needed. Let's say that you want to buy a new car and take out the money to do so. You cannot then replace that 16k until the next tax year, as you would have already maxed out your contribution with the initial 20k paid in. Remember this, it can be somewhat of an opportunity cost to you. Remember that keeping money invested for as long as possible is going to be better for you. Time in the market beats timing the market, as this allows compound interest to do its thing. Taking that money out completely stops that. It would make more sense to consider saving for something like a new car into a cash savings account and leaving your investments well and truly alone. On a separate matter as well, once you've taken that money out, you would have bought into the stock market at a much lower price when you initially put that money in. You'd have to put that money back in at possibly a much higher price, especially if you had done that over a year or two. Generally speaking, the S&P 500 can grow 10, 12, 15% every single year. So it's great if you put it in early, but if you take it out again, you're going to have to then buy back in at a much higher price. Remember that. But there is an exception to this, however, and that is if you have a flexible cash ISA. These are very few and far between, but some banks do offer them. But if your cash is flexible, you can withdraw money from it and then replace that money with new money at a later date within the same tax year without affecting your allowance. This would make a flexible cash ISA brilliant for something such as an emergency fund. Here are all of the caveats to each ISA type when it comes to investing with them. So with a stocks and shares ISA, remember, you can withdraw at any time, but remember the opportunity cost of selling out of your investments. Generally speaking, do not consider investing any money into the stock market that you think you may need in the next 5 to 10 years minimum. If you've maxed out your allowance and withdraw, you cannot replace this money until the next tax year. With lifetime ISAs, keep telling yourself that the money put away into a LISA is locked away until you are ready to buy your first home or retire. If you end up withdrawing money from this ISA type for other things than these two, you will pay a 20% penalty, which effectively wipes out the 25% government bonus from putting money into one. With cash ISAs, if they're easy access, you can take out the money whenever you like. The same applies if they're fixed ISAs. With fixed ISAs, however, you may pay an interest penalty on the amount that you withdraw. With notice rate cash ISAs, you have to give a certain amount of days notice in advance before taking the money out. Not good for if you need it in an emergency. If you've maxed out your allowance on any of the above, you cannot replace that money until the next tax year, but you can do so if your cash ISA is flexible. Innovative finance ISAs are much more complex and confusing. You'll need to sell your investments in order to access the cash from them. Other buyers can buy your interest and you can access the cash. This is what the majority of providers give. It may be more difficult to do so if more people want to sell rather than buy. Again, speak to a financial expert in this field before making the decision to get and check the terms of your potential provider, or just forget about them entirely, to be honest. With junior ISAs, the money is locked away until your child turns 18. The only exceptions to this are pretty harrowing, if your child has a terminal illness or dies. And I hope for each and every single person watching that something like that truly never happens. So there we have it, the ultimate guide to ISAs and examples of why you should seriously consider opening one or a couple in order to smash your financial goals. Obviously, all of the previously mentioned is for educational purposes only. I cannot tell you to go out and open one or several if it doesn't make financial sense to you at this time. If you still haven't done so, consider building up your emergency fund and getting out of debt before you do things like this. Please do your own research and consider reaching out to a financial advisor if you want to learn even more about ISAs. And with all that said, I really hope that you found some value in this video. If so, give it a thumbs up. It took me a long time to research and record this video, but I do hope that you enjoyed it. And let's have a discussion about it in the comments down below. If you haven't done already, please consider subscribing for more money-related content. Follow on Instagram for more posts. And remember, until next time, every quid counts. See you soon.